You know that feeling when you've been visualizing the same thing for months, you've been affirming every morning, you made vision boards, you've done everything the manifestation gurus told you to do, and nothing shows up, not even close. Meanwhile, you watch other people seem to effortlessly attract what they want, and you're left wondering what the hell you're doing wrong. Here's the thing, you're not broken, your desires aren't too big, you don't lack worthiness. What's happening is actually rooted in quantum physics, and today we're going to talk about something called quantum decoherence. This is the scientific reason why most people's manifestations collapse before they can materialize in the physical world. And honestly, once you understand this concept, everything about manifestation suddenly makes sense. The doubt, the struggle, the inconsistency, it all connects to this one quantum principle that nobody talks about. In today's video, we'll cover why your manifestation power keeps getting disrupted, what quantum decoherence really means for conscious creators like us, and most importantly, 5 specific ways this interference is sabotaging your results right now. But here's what gets really interesting. Understanding decoherence is just the first piece of the puzzle. Because once you grasp this, we can dive into something even more powerful called quantum coherence, which is basically the opposite. And when you learn to maintain quantum coherence, manifestation becomes almost effortless. We'll explore that in the next video. But first, we need to understand what's been working against you this whole time. So let's start with a simple question. Have you ever noticed that your manifestations seem to work better when you're completely relaxed and not trying so hard? Or maybe you've had those moments where you forgot about your desire completely and then suddenly it showed up? That's not a coincidence. That's quantum physics in action. In the comments right now, drop one word that represents your biggest manifestation challenge. Maybe it's doubt, maybe it's impatience, maybe it's fear, maybe it's something uniquely yours. Let that word be a small but profound declaration, a signal you're sending not just in this space, but into the quantum field itself. Let me tell you about quantum decoherence in the simplest way possible. Imagine you're trying to listen to your favorite song on a radio, but there's so much static and interference that you can barely make out the melody. The song is still playing perfectly at the radio station, but by the time it reaches your radio, it's been disrupted by all kinds of environmental noise. This is exactly what happens with your manifestations. Your desire, let's call it your manifestation signal, starts out perfectly clear in the quantum field. But as it travels through your consciousness and into physical reality, it gets interrupted by what scientists call environmental interference. In the quantum world, this interference causes something called decoherence, which basically means the loss of coherence due to environmental interaction. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what does this have to do with me manifesting a new job or my dream relationship? Everything. Because in the context of manifestation, environmental interaction isn't just about the physical environment around you. It includes your internal environment, your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and energy. When there is inner conflict, doubt, or external distraction, it interferes with your manifestation power at the quantum level. Dr. Amit Goswami, the quantum physicist who wrote The Self-Aware Universe, explains that consciousness itself is what collapses quantum possibilities into physical reality. But here's the catch. If your consciousness is scattered, conflicted, or constantly interrupted, the quantum collapse becomes chaotic instead of coherent. Think about it like this. You know how sometimes you're trying to have a deep conversation with someone, but you're in a noisy restaurant with music playing, people talking loudly, and your phone buzzing with notifications? You want to focus on what the person is saying, but there's so much interference that you keep losing the thread of the conversation. That's what's happening to your manifestations when there's quantum decoherence. The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "Nothing is permanent except change." But what he was really talking about was the constant flow of energy and information in the universe. The problem is, most of us are trying to manifest from a place of constant change and chaos instead of coherent stability. Let me give you a real life example. Imagine someone trying to manifest financial abundance for 2 years. They visualize, They affirm, they do gratitude practices, but their bank account stays the same. The issue isn't their technique, the issue is quantum decoherence. Every time they sit down to visualize having money, their mind immediately jumps to bills, debt, fear of not having enough. Every time they affirm, I am abundant, a voice in their head says, yeah, right, look at your credit card statement. This internal conflict creates what quantum physicists call environmental noise. The manifestation signal gets scrambled before it can gain enough coherence to materialize. It's not that the universe isn't listening, it's that mixed signals are being sent at the quantum level. Now, here's where it gets really interesting from a scientific perspective. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in what's called superposition. Basically, they exist in all possible states simultaneously until something observes or measures them. When that happens, the particle chooses one specific state, and that's called quantum collapse or wave function collapse. Your manifestations work the same way. Your desire exists in superposition in the quantum field, meaning all the possible ways it could manifest are happening simultaneously. But for it to collapse into your physical reality, your consciousness needs to observe it coherently and consistently. When there's decoherence, when your focus gets scattered or contradicted, the collapse becomes random instead of intentional. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this in Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. He says that when we're living in survival mode, constantly reacting to our environment, our brainwaves become incoherent, and incoherent brainwaves create incoherent manifestation. The ancient Chinese understood this principle through the concept of Wu Wei, dot effortless action. They knew that forcing and struggling creates resistance, while maintaining inner harmony allows natural flow. What they didn't know is that they were actually describing quantum coherence thousands of years before we had the scientific language to explain it. So here's what I want you to understand. Every time you doubt, every time you worry, every time you check your phone while visualizing, every time you listen to people who don't believe in what you're creating quantum decoherence. You're adding static to your manifestation signal. But before we dive deeper into how to fix this, I want to invite you into something real. If you've been feeling like something's finally making sense, if a part of you is realizing that maybe you're not broken after all, tap like because like attracts like and subscribe. Stay with this space, grow with us. Also join our manifestation club on gogetter.auns. Get inspired by reading manifestation stories and share your story to inspire others. Because understanding quantum decoherence is just the beginning. The real magic happens when we learn to maintain quantum coherence, which is what we'll explore next. Now, let me share with you the 5 hidden decoherence killers that are probably sabotaging your manifestations right now. And honestly, I still catch myself doing some of these, so don't feel bad if you recognize yourself in all of them. The first decoherence killer is what I call doubt waves. In quantum physics, everything is energy vibrating at different frequencies. Your thoughts and emotions create literal waves of energy that either support or interfere with your manifestation signal. When you have a clear intention but then immediately think, but what if it doesn't work? Or, this is probably too good to be true, you're creating interference waves that cancel out your original signal. It's like trying to tune into a radio station while someone else keeps changing the frequency. The radio gets confused about what signal to lock onto, so you get static instead of music. Neuroscientist Dr. Rick Hansen explains in Buddha's Brain that our brains are naturally wired to focus on negative possibilities as a survival mechanism. But this ancient wiring creates quantum decoherence in our modern manifestation practice. The second killer is environmental noise. And this isn't just about loud sounds or cluttered spaces, though those matter too. Environmental noise includes the people you spend time with, the media you consume, the conversations you have throughout the day. If you spend your morning visualizing abundance and then spend your afternoon listening to friends complain about money problems, you're adding interference to your signal. The ancient Egyptians understood this principle so well that they created sacred spaces specifically designed to maintain energetic coherence. The pyramids weren't just tombs, they were consciousness amplification devices built with precise mathematical ratios that supported coherent thought patterns. The third decoherence killer is mental multitasking. Your consciousness can only maintain coherent focus on one thing at a time. When you're trying to manifest a new relationship while also worrying about work, planning dinner, and scrolling through social media, you're splitting your quantum attention in too many directions. Dr. Daniel Siegel, who studies the neuroscience of consciousness, found that focused attention literally changes the structure of your brain, but scattered attention creates what he calls neural chaos. And neural chaos leads to quantum decoherence. The fourth killer is emotional turbulence. Your emotions are not just feelings, they're electromagnetic frequencies that interact with the quantum field. Fear, anxiety, frustration, and anger create chaotic wave patterns that interfere with the clear, coherent frequency of your desires. It's like trying to write a love letter during an earthquake. The physical shaking makes it impossible to create clear, beautiful handwriting. Abraham Hicks talks about this as being in vibrational alignment versus vibrational contradiction. When your emotions are chaotic, you can't maintain the clear vibrational signature that your manifestation needs to recognize and respond to. The fifth and most subtle decoherence killer is identity conflict. This is when who you think you are fights against who you're trying to become. If you're trying to manifest wealth, but your identity is still, I'm someone who struggles with money, you're creating internal quantum interference. Your subconscious mind is constantly broadcasting your identity into the quantum field. If there's a conflict between your conscious desires and your unconscious identity, the result is decoherence. Dr. Bruce Lipton explains in The Biology of Belief that our subconscious programs run 95% of our lives. If those programs contradict our conscious intentions, we get mixed results at best. Now, the ancient Greek philosopher Pythagoras understood something profound about coherence. He discovered that certain mathematical ratios created harmonious sounds while others created discord. He called this the music of the spheres, the idea that the entire universe operates on principles of harmony and resonance. What Pythagoras discovered about sound is exactly what quantum physics tells us about consciousness. Coherent consciousness creates harmonious manifestations. Incoherent consciousness creates chaotic results. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What he was describing, without knowing it, was the ability to maintain internal coherence regardless of external circumstances. This is the key to preventing quantum decoherence. In the comments, drop one thing you want to manifest that's most important to you right now. Maybe it's financial freedom, maybe it's your soulmate, maybe it's perfect health, maybe it's something uniquely yours. Let this be a small but profound declaration, a signal to the universe you're sending not just in this space, but into the quantum field itself. The beautiful thing about understanding quantum decoherence is that once you see how it works, you can start to reverse it. The question isn't whether you can manifest what you want. Quantum physics proves that consciousness creates reality. The question is whether you can maintain enough coherence long enough for your manifestation to stabilize in physical form. Let me share 7 practical ways to reduce quantum decoherence starting today. And these aren't just feel-good suggestions, they are based on actual quantum principles. First, create what I call a coherence sanctuary. This is a physical space that's dedicated only to your manifestation practice. No work stuff, no bills, no reminders of current problems. When you enter this space, your brain learns to shift into coherent focus mode. The ancient temples were built on this principle, sacred geometry, and specific proportions that naturally induce coherent brainwave states. Second, practice single-pointed focus. Instead of trying to manifest 10 different things at once, choose one primary desire and give it your full quantum attention for at least 30 days. Dr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's research on flow states shows that the brain performs best when focused on a single task with clear intention. Third, become aware of your doubt patterns. Most of us doubt unconsciously. Start catching yourself in the act of creating interference waves. When you notice doubt arising, don't fight it. That creates more turbulence. Instead, Gently redirect your attention back to your coherent intention. Fourth, curate your environment ruthlessly. This includes people, media, physical spaces, and even the conversations you have with yourself. If something consistently pulls you into fear, scarcity, or confusion, it's creating quantum decoherence in your field. Fifth, practice emotional coherence. The Heart Math Institute has done incredible research showing that when your heart rhythm becomes coherent, it influences your brain waves, which affects your ability to access intuitive intelligence. Simple breathing techniques can shift you from emotional chaos to coherent flow in minutes. Sixth, align your identity with your desires. Instead of saying, I want to be wealthy, start thinking, I am someone who naturally attracts abundance. This might feel like pretending at first, but you're actually training your subconscious to broadcast a coherent identity signal. Seventh, create coherent routines. Your daily habits either support or disrupt quantum coherence. Wake up and immediately connect with your desire instead of checking your phone. End your day by anchoring into gratitude instead of scrolling through problems on social media. The ancient Vedic tradition understood this principle through the practice of dharana, sustained concentration. They knew that the mind's natural tendency is to scatter, but through disciplined focus, consciousness could achieve what they called samadhi, the aegis state, a coherent state of pure awareness where desires manifest effortlessly. Lao Tzu wrote in the Tao Te Ching, those who flow as life flows know they need no other force. What he was describing is quantum coherence, the ability to maintain such clear internal alignment that external resistance dissolves. But here's where it gets really exciting. Understanding and preventing quantum decoherence is incredibly powerful. But it's actually just the foundation, because once you master coherence, you can start to amplify it. There's something called quantum coherence, that's like decoherence in reverse. Instead of your signal getting weaker and more scattered, it actually gets stronger and more focused. Imagine if instead of just preventing interference with your manifestation signal, you could actually amplify that signal until it becomes so powerful that physical reality has no choice but to reshape itself around your intention. That's what quantum coherence makes possible. And here's the thing that blew my mind when I first learned this. Quantum coherence doesn't just speed up your manifestations. It actually allows you to manifest things that seem impossible from a normal consciousness level. We are talking about quantum leaps, synchronicities that feel like magic, and manifestations that happen so fast they feel almost instant. But quantum coherence works on different principles than just avoiding decoherence. There are specific techniques, specific practices, and specific states of consciousness that create amplified coherent fields. And honestly, this is where manifestation transforms from a practice into a way of being. If this message resonates with you, subscribe to stay connected and hit the bell icon to get notified. Also join our manifestation club on gogetter.aui, where we keep raising the energy together. You're stepping into a space where these kinds of awakenings are our foundation. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family who might be struggling with their manifestations. You might be a blessing in disguise for them. And remember, you're not just sharing, you're spreading quantum coherence into the collective field. The truth is, most people will spend their entire lives creating unconscious decoherence, wondering why their dreams never materialize. But you're here, you're learning these principles, and that means you're ready to step into a completely different level of conscious creation. In our next video, we're going to dive deep into quantum coherence, how to not just prevent interference, but how to actually amplify your manifestation signal until it becomes irresistible to physical reality. We'll explore the specific brainwave states that create coherent fields, the ancient practices that naturally induce quantum coherence, and 3 advanced techniques that can collapse the time between desire and manifestation. Trust me, once you understand quantum coherence, everything about your manifestation practice will change. Instead of hoping your desires will manifest, you'll know they have to manifest because you've created such a powerful coherent field that reality has to reorganize itself to match your consciousness. So make sure you're subscribed because this is just the beginning of understanding how consciousness truly creates reality at the quantum level. And if you're ready to take this work even deeper, I'll see you in the next video where we explore the quantum secrets that turn manifestation from an art into a science. Until then, remember, you're not broken, your desires aren't too big, and your manifestation power is real. You've just been broadcasting through static, but now that you understand quantum decoherence, you can finally tune into the clear signal that's been waiting for you all along.